Well, Ryan, just picking up here on a few questions and discussions we've been doing prior to the lockdown. We've done a couple, one in Bangor, one internationally, 500 people at both. I don't think we expected at that time that we'd be waiting a few months to do a sort of Q&A, but it has been a weird period, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I remember preparing for the games, for the friendlies in March, and you just didn't know at one point whether they would go ahead and whether they would get cancelled. And of course, obviously, rightly so, they got cancelled, and in full lockdown really. And I think back then, when we were doing them Q&As, you could never foresee what was going to happen over the coming months. So interesting times. I think everyone adapted, but now hopefully we're coming out of it and trying to get back to some sort of normality.
And it's now, from your point of view, with the squad, with all the matches coming up, it's about reigniting that momentum, because in a way we could easily be here now talking about how it went in Euro 2020 and what are you going to do for the World Cup qualifiers. Instead, we're still talking Nations League, and the Euros are next year, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough enough trying to get momentum in international football because of the gaps in between the games. It's even tougher now because we're not played for 9 or 10 months, but we have to get it back. We have to look back upon what we did well and always what we can improve at, improve on, which definitely we can. I think we're probably 60% of what we're capable of. There's so much more room for improvement, but also looking back to see how far we've come as well in a short space of time. So it's about trying to get that momentum back, getting the group together, repeating the messages of what I want from the players, what I demand from the players, what us as staff want to see from the players, and get back to what I thought. I say 60% of what we're capable of, but so proud of what the players did under such pressure, especially in them 2 last games, Azerbaijan and Hungary.
In terms of prior to this now and in lockdown, through Tiny Media, able to put together 4 or 5 episodes about the journey from when you were appointed manager. It's funny, when you're inside and the momentum and things are going, you don't notice the changes, but watching back, I might be wrong here, but it seems, in terms of you as a manager, you seem to have grown into the role, the confidence from when you first started. I know you've seen the episodes. Do you see that difference? Because I suppose in the first one, when we went to China, people see you as Ryan Giggs, what you've achieved as a player, but it's a new role, although you've done a few games at Manchester United. But going to China, it's as if you're studying everything, taking everything in and learning about everyone around you. Have you noticed that when you watch it?
Well, I mean, just talking about China just brings back so many memories. I mean, it was such a tough start in many ways because of the travelling and everything we had to endure, the jet lag, but also it was a good chance for us to get together as a group for the first time and really get to know the players, the staff. So I look back upon it fondly, and obviously great start with the first game, disappointment, but definitely I can see myself and us as staff really evolving as we go on and getting to know the players and what they're capable of, and definitely watching it was interesting because you forget about certain things. And definitely evolved, and felt obviously like anything, the more you do, the more comfortable you are, but also in the same breath, not taking anything for granted and constantly trying to improve.
In terms of that, looking back just a year, we were going into the next 2 games, I think Azerbaijan and a friendly against Belarus. Not many expecting really qualification. I know there was still a long way to go. We'd had the defeats in Croatia and Hungary. Did you learn a lot about yourself or about management in that time? Because there was a long gap in between games. And there was pressure, wasn't it, to deliver results, although one was a friendly, especially against Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I think it toughens you up. You know, Hungary, the feeling after the game, I was so low. And like you say, there was a big gap in between the games. And of course, you doubt yourself. You doubt that, you know, and you question the things that I got wrong. And you try and learn from it. And hopefully I've done that. Still, like I say, we can do so much better. And yeah, we will get better. But yeah, certainly, you know, like as a player, when you go through tough times, you know, if you come out of it, you learn so much about yourself. And that was definitely the case, because after that, obviously 2 losses. I mean, it was difficult because there were 2 tough away games. Croatia, the things that we had to, the heat, the stadium, the facilities, the travelling. 6 weeks after most of the lads had finished their season, it was really difficult. And then Hungary, obviously, were flying at the time. We started the group really well. So you do have your doubts, but also I believed in the quality that we had within the dressing room, and that we could come through it. And you know, I asked for momentum. I asked to that we go on an unbeaten run, and we got there. And the players did fantastic. You know, under huge pressure, where it is big pressure, where you can't afford to drop points or you can't afford to lose games.
You just mentioned the players there. Just before we come on, we've got questions from some supporters, but I think in the programme, one of the episodes you alluded to, when as a situation evolved around players who weren't involved at the beginning, who were at the end. You mentioned Joe Morel in one particular shout with the under-21s, which was interesting. Yeah,
it was amazing. I mean, I've always tried to get that link between the younger teams and the first team, because that's how I used to watch the first team when I was 15, 16, sit on the side of the pitch and watch them. And it's something that I think that is important, that young players look and aspire to. That I want to be on that pitch, I want to be part of that. And it was just funny, seeing the clip of, obviously there was a lot of younger lads who knew Joe, going over and speaking to him, and he was the other side of the fence. You know, he was with the 21s, watching training, and fast forward, he was so integral to us qualifying in the end. So it just shows you that, you know, in international football, 6 months, a year, anything can happen.
And that'll be part of your thinking moving forward now. Nico Williams, Ben Cabango, the likes, given the opportunity like Joe, and hoping that they take it like a Joe Morel.
Yeah, no, I mean, my job is to give players a chance who I think are worthy of it, who deserve it, and then it's up to them. It's up to them. They have to take the chance and create that competitive environment where more experienced players, or I don't even say older players, you know, players who maybe have just got into the squad or into the team, but even then, that's when the hard work begins, and looking over their shoulder. And that constant flow of young players pushing them, or new players coming into the squad and pushing them.
Because you remind me there, this time last year, Kiefer Moore comes on played against Belarus, didn't he? And then, of course, you know, becomes such a talisman in the remaining matches, and becomes a hero for the Welsh fans out of nothing, really. Yeah,
I mean, Joe Morel, Kiefer, both played in that Belarus game, and from then on, really, like I say, they got given the chance and they took it.
Let's just move on. There's a few questions to end this section with the from the fans. Dan Murter, you mentioned there about learning as a manager. If you could change one decision you've made in your time as Wales manager so far, what would it be?
I'm not trying to think of one. There's a lot. That's why I'm trying to narrow it down.
Which one's
I could see you thinking, yeah, you have made mistakes. There must be a few. No, there's a few. I'm just trying to narrow it down.
I've got one though. It's been on my mind for no else.
Keeping you in the job. Right?
It's a long way to go yet.
No, I think it was a difficult one, because it's always good in hindsight, but I probably made a few mistakes regarding the Hungary game, just with selection. Yeah. It's always difficult because you want to freshen things up, and yeah, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. I got it wrong because we lost.
Right. Okay. This is from Paul Hughes. Do you think the delay in Euro 2020 has altered Wales's chance in the competition in any way?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is Joe Allen is available, where he wouldn't have been, so that can only be good. We did have momentum, so we have to start again, try and get that momentum again. So that's the negative part, but yeah, I think it's. I look at the positives. You know, we've got a lot of younger players who will be a year older, a year more experienced, but that's not to say that, you know, it's going to be necessarily better. They have to keep that hunger, that desire, and try and get in that squad. Because I've said, the players that I've got to pick, if everyone's fit, I will have a right headache picking a 23. And the more players that come through, Kabangos, Nico Williams, the more headaches that I've got. But it's a headache you'd rather have than not.
Because in this squad, there's still the likes of Mepham, you know, there's players as Joe Allen, who's headed out injured, which you would be automatically expected to be in the squad and playing and what have you, which, you know, from a player, and in recent years, more recent years, hasn't always been the case, as it having two players in each position challenging.
Yeah, and that's ideally what you want, that, you know, a player, because I think that's happened far too often in the past. Even when I was playing, a couple of players missing, and it's just nowhere. It's not that you're not the same. It's like nowhere near the same. That can't happen because there will be injuries, there will be suspensions, there will be players not playing necessarily. So you have to have a player coming in where it's not going to lessen the chances of us winning.
Next question comes from O'Malley Thompson, and asking the question about Chris Gunter, his favourite player. Can you see him getting to the 100 caps, becoming the first male player to reach that milestone? He's so close.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Try my best to get Gunther to 100 because he's been a fantastic servant. It's a balancing act, obviously. I think, like I say, I'll try and get him there, but you know, we've got the likes of Nico Williams, Connor Roberts. But yeah, definitely try.
This is a question from Hugh Thomas. It doesn't relate to on the field activity, it's off the field in terms of the fact that, you know, you've been around Wales, we've done a lot with your predecessor Chris as well, going around and talking about culture, language, identity, and we do refer on a lot of things that we do publicly as Wales as Cymru, reflecting the bilingual nature of the country. What do you think about the national teams now being referred to on a lot of occasions as Cymru and instead of Wales?
No, I mean, it's been a education for me. You know, I moved to Salford when I was 7, you know, from Cardiff. So I spent the first 7 years in Cardiff. Every holidays, I was on the train on the way back till I was about 12, 13, where football took over. But yeah, it's been an education travelling the country and just seeing the different parts of the country and different parts that first language is Welsh. So no, definitely. I definitely think that we should be proud of our heritage, bilingual, because I've seen it in schools. You know, we've done Q&As in school where so they start off in Welsh and then, usually for my benefit, ask the question in English. But no, we have to be proud because there's not many countries that will have our heritage and be something to be proud of. So yeah, I've really enjoyed things that I didn't know, things that I did know, places where I wanted to go, travelling the country, obviously beautiful country that we have. Sometimes great weather, sometimes not so great weather. But no, I think 100% we should refer to the teams coming in.
This is back to football. It's from a Matthew Owen, and he's talking about your experience from a time as Manchester United, both as a manager and a coach with the club, and the fact that obviously international football coaching setup, is it harder to get your methods and style across because you usually only have a short space of time together? What's the big difference between club and international coaching?
Well, obviously you can't buy players in. You do get not as much time, obviously, but club managers very rarely get time as well. That's why it's important. You know, we go to Portugal, we try and get, which I've had the first couple of years, young camps in to try and get your philosophy and culture across and the way you want to play. But that's where staff are so important with the meetings, with individual meetings, trying to get your point across as clearly as possible, but not overdoing it, not giving the players too much information, because you are only together a short space of time. But that comes with time. Unfortunately, you have a lot of injuries. I think we've only played the same team once, obviously one game and then the next game. So it's difficult. So you have to be clear in your meetings, you have to be clear in training, but not try and give the players too much information.
Okay. There's a question from Mark Lewis, which you've answered in terms of young players who might not have been ready for the Euros, but they're in this squad. There's just 3 more questions about the Cardiff City Stadium. You've played at some of the best stadiums in the world, but how much of an advantage do you feel you have when we play at a full Cardiff City Stadium, when we hear the national anthem? How much of a boost does that give yourself and the players, do you think, in front of that crowd?
Yeah, I felt that as a player. When you feel that you walk into a stadium and you've got good memories, you feel comfortable and you want to perform, and then you have the fans behind you. And also, never forget Croatia at home and the Croatian players clapping or looking around going after the national. And these are players who just played in the World Cup final. So it not only has an effect on us, it has an effect on the opposition. Now, fans can be that extra man, without a shadow of a doubt. And passion is part of our culture, and we should never lose that. Together with obviously the tactical aspect, making sure that you perform, but also that passion to perform in that atmosphere. And I was a player, it makes a big difference when you have them fans behind you. You have an extra spring in your step, and maybe go that extra yard when you're feeling tired. It gives you that boost. So yeah, it's massive. It's massive.
That question was from Pete Mills. Thomas Hammett, as manager of the national team, what's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear? My biggest fear, Sean ain't going to like it, but that phone call that I usually get Saturday evening to tell me that one of the players has picked up a knock. Yeah. That's my biggest fear. Because you prepare for a month for have an idea, and it never comes to fruition. What your ideal 11 is. So that's probably my biggest fear.
Adam Truman, in terms of the upcoming Nations League games, will you be using, although we saw the benefit of it last time as well in terms of doing well in it, will you still be using it as an opportunity to try experimenting with team selection and your tactics ahead of the Euros and the World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to get that mix right where you want to see players perform because they could be good in training, but then just not performing games. So you want to see if they can, and sometimes they do step up. So, but you got to win games as well. So you can't. You want to keep that momentum. You want to win games because that breeds confidence. And it's not only the games really. It's important that I see the players training. It's important that I see how they act around the place. Are they improving? So yeah, I think it does give you a little bit of a chance to experiment, sort of under the radar, rather than in Euro qualifiers or World Cup qualifiers, but also you still want to win games. And now, you know, like it's been over the last 4 or 5 years, you're expected to win every game, no matter who you play.
And then just finally on this section, if you've played with some great teammates for Wales over the years, if you could think of all the players you've played with, who would you choose to play either in the current team or in the current squad? Who would you think, yeah, I'd love him in that squad?
Oh.
You're going to upset someone, aren't you? So.
I mean, I never seen, obviously, John Charles play, but I've heard about how good he was one of Sir Alex Ferguson's favourite players. So I'm going to go with someone who I did see play. Goal scorers don't grow on trees, so I'll go with Rushy.
Yeah.
Because you've always got a chance. You've always got someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, I'll go with Rushy.
That's brilliant. Okay, well, those are the questions from the fans. Just finally then, here we are, after a gap. Got, before you know it, you'll be back in Baku looking at facilities again.
Yeah, again.
And checking out, looking ahead to the Euros. Because it's a busy after the gap. You've got, you know, the matches coming up, then you've got October 3 and another in November, and then we have January.
Yeah, that's why I tried to enjoy lockdown as much as I could, because I know what's coming up the next 18 months. So, no, it's good. I mean, you know, we talk about momentum and we talk about games coming thick and fast. Well, over the next 18 months, that's what's going to happen. You know, obviously we've got the Nations League, and then we've got the Euros, then quickly it's the World Cup, and obviously it's a different scenario because it's at a different time of the year. But it's exciting. It's exciting, and the players are excited. You know, the players want to be involved in these games, and why wouldn't you be? Because it's exciting times for Welsh football in regards to the talent that we've got. It's up to me and my staff to make sure that we get the best out of them.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot for your time again, Ryan, and
Thank you.
Wish you all the best in the coming months and the build-up now to the Euros, which we seem to be saying for the last 10 months. But thanks again for your time.
Thanks,
Ryan.
Cheers.